7.3. We're going to be talking about, well, in this video, we're going to be using functions that involve the letter E. Now, E is just not some letter that we pick randomly. It actually represents something. Okay? Just like pi, that symbol represents an irrational number that's approximately 3.14. And remember, they use pi because they cannot write this out. If I try to write this number out, it's impossible. No human can do it. Not even a computer can do it yet. All right. So they have to approximate it, and then they use a symbol in its place. All right. So E is just like pi. See, pi deals with circumference, it deals with circles. All right. So anytime you're dealing with circles, pi always comes into the equation. But when I'm dealing with E excuse me, comes into play when I start dealing with finances. All right. But what I'm going to show you now is, before we continue on, here's your objectives. You will be able to interpret the real world meaning of an exponential function and graph, which we've been doing already. Students will be able to identify the base of a natural logarithm is E. Okay, so there is an irrational number, just like pi, and it's denoted E, that arises naturally in a variety of phenomena and plays a central role in the mathematical description of the physical universe. Ooh, man. That's pretty interesting, huh? All right. Where in the heck does E come from? All right. All you need to know about this is called limit theory. If you ever take higher levels of mathematics, you'll get into calculus, and when you get into calculus, you get pretty much the beginning of calculus, you talk about limits and limits theory. All right. The key thing here is n. All right. And this right here tells me what n does. It tells me I'm going to start with 0, and as I put 0 in, I simplify it. Then I plug in 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and I keep going on forever. Okay? So, you notice we put in 1, then 10, 100, 1,000, and then 10,000. All right, and you'll keep going on forever. As you plug these numbers in, here's a table, which I did on the calculator, printed it out. So the first one, when I plug in 1 into this equation, this right here, I get 2. Now when I plugged in 10, I get 2.5937. Now I have the calculator, when you're showing on the table, only showing me the first 4 decimal places. Then I put in 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and then so forth. All right? And you notice that if I keep going further, this is the decimals I would get, 7183. But you have to notice that the decimals go on forever. That's why it's irrational. So if I take E, all right, to the first power, just E on the calculator, this is as much as the calculator will give me. All right? It gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 decimal places. The thing is, it goes on forever. All right? So I just can't write E as a number because it's impossible because it goes on forever. I can approximate it and write something like this, or I can just use the letter E. So when I take this, so what's happening is as n increases, I keep getting closer and closer to a certain value, 2.71, blah, blah, blah. We don't know where it ends, so therefore we call it E. Okay? That's where E comes from. Or how? Now, where does E come in the real world? It deals with, it comes into finances. Okay? Compounding interest. That's probably compounding interest. When you deal with compounding interest, you will get into equations where you will have the number e that will show up. Alright? That is probably the most real, where most of you might, if there's a chance you'll see it, is that's where it'll be at. Alright? So the formula for compounding interest is A equals P, which is the principal, times the quantity of 1 plus the rate divided by n. In other words, n is the amount that I deposit. N times t, t is the number, is time. All right. And my principal is how much I deposit. And then, so at any time I can figure out what my actual amount is in my account. So the larger n gets, the closer the investment of $1 gets to 2.718281828. So if I can put $1 into an account and I keep it, and don't touch it, and let the interest accumulate, eventually I'll have that much money. How long? It'll take forever to get to that. So that's where E comes from, all right? As a short lesson, you really don't need to know until if you get into finances, if you take higher levels of mathematics, you will understand where E has a vital importance, all right? But right now, all you need to know is that E is irrational, and that's why we have to use a letter to represent it.